yeah, this is my presentation. Um, and I'm going to be, so what I should just say is we've been, at Carbon Co-op, we've been doing some work on the one-stop shop model, which taking some inspiration from the other work that's out there. But the focus of my presentation is actually going to be on partnerships with municipalities. And giving a perspective from a citizen-led organisation on different forms of collaboration with municipalities. So, let's see if this works. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to introduce Carbon Co-op, and then I'm going to talk about two case studies that illustrate different collaborations with municipalities. The first one will be a bit more in depth than the second one. And then I'll just summarize some strengths and weaknesses around the citizen-led organizations and municipalities, and kind of really advocate collaboration, really. So Carbon Co-op. Carbon Co-op is a citizen-led approach to delivering energy efficiency. We are a cooperative of householders, not for profit, led by citizens. So our governance model is that our membership is made up of householders who want to retrofit their homes. So we're directly responsible to them. And the origin of Carbon Co-op, just over 10 years ago now, is one around citizens taking action on climate change, being their primary motivation, and taking action in their own homes through energy efficiency. As a citizen-led organisation, not for profit, we're able to achieve high levels of trust between the organisation is well trusted by the members. And I should say that the focus of our work and our members is owner-occupiers, people that own their own homes, people that are able to pay for the works themselves. Some of our learning on finance is very similar to Friedrichshafen. And these are early adopters, so these are people that are particularly well motivated to take action. We have around 200 members, but we work with a much broader proportion of local society here in Manchester, beyond this kind of work. So we work in other areas as well. Our approach to retrofit is that we collaborate very closely with a firm of architects here. So we have strong expertise in this area. And we also do the energy audits. So we have an energy report kind of methodology that we use that delivered by the architects. We take a whole house approach. So we try and deliver as many measures as possible. And a fabric first, so we invest first in reducing the energy demand through insulating and reducing energy demand in the fabric of the home. And we also take a whole life cycle sustainability approach. So where possible, we're working with renewable materials such as wood fiber, insulation, and yeah, taking a whole life cycle sustainability approach. So the context of the two projects I'm going to talk about is the Green Deal. Now, the Green Deal is a pay-as-you-save model. So the concept there is that you gain the finance up front, probably from a lender, and then you pay out for the work, and then you save money over time on your bills. And the key kind of issue there is how can you finance up front and achieve those savings in the long term. The UK government in the early 2010s came up with a program called Green Deal. And there's 5 stages to it, a very simplified assessment. And the assessment was compared to the ones that we've seen today in Denmark and the ones we deliver in Manchester, very simple and fairly inaccurate. You then receive recommendations. You get quotes from a Green Deal approved supplier. the installation takes place and you receive the benefits, and the lending takes place against your energy bills. So you borrow the money and it's paid back over through your energy bill, that mechanism. It was a UK government scheme, incorporated the finance aspects plus a regulatory and a standards-based regime, but it was particularly flawed in terms of the poor assessment, high rates of interest, the small scale in terms of the measures delivered, the poor contractor take-up, low levels of trust from householders, and it was cancelled in 2015. But both these projects I'm going to talk about, the case studies, took place during Green Deal when it was operational. So the first study is Community Green Deal. So this project was delivered by Carbon Co-op. So we led on this project, but it was funded via the local authority. So we worked, the municipality here in Manchester. So we worked in collaboration with them. But the idea was to test out a citizen-led intermediary delivering a Green Deal-like program. And the idea here was that the initial Green Deal, as delivered by the UK government, could develop in this kind of direction. So they were looking for inspiration and learning. So the project featured a very much more detailed assessment delivered by Carbon Co-op, a whole house approach rather than small single measures, with an average spend of €50,000 per property. The finance was achieved through 0% finance, which we lent directly to householders, but the money originated with the government, so it came by us, with architects doing design and overseeing work, and a single contractor procured by Carbon Co-op. And as I said, you could see this as really a collaboration with the local authority, but very much with the community, the citizen-led intermediary out front, Carbon Co-op out front as the first means of kind of engagement with householders. And it was a very successful project. We delivered a package of 15 properties, but obviously for the large amounts of money per property, it was a big scheme for us. And it was very successful in delivering the high levels of performance we were aiming to achieve from a whole house retrofit. We were successful in reducing heating bills by 50% and carbon emissions by 60% per property, and making large-scale savings in householders' bills. The householders themselves were very positive about the project and about the engagement that had taken place. And it's a shame that the government programme was cancelled, because I think there was a lot of learning in here for the government, how they could replicate it on a bigger scale. So that was a very positive project. The second case study is Green Deal Communities. So it's the same words in a slightly different order. This was a local authority-led scheme. So it was promoting the Green Deal offer directly by local authorities. And because of various constraints around procurement, the local authorities procured large companies. Wilmot Dixon, as pictured here, is one of those companies. So these are big construction companies. So they were the key point of contact with the householders. They adopted a traditional top-down approach to the marketing. So they went for adverts on buses and leaflets and what have you, rather than the community-based social marketing approach that we took. And they brought in Carbon Co-op to help with the marketing. But we didn't have any kind of dealings on the technical side of things. And in terms of the delivery of the project, there was a relatively low take-up in contrast to the Community Green Deal. The number of measures delivered over the scheme was small in terms of per property. Usually it was just a single measure per property or couple. So that was maybe 500 or £1,000. 500 or €1,000 per property. Small scale measures. There were issues with the contractors, partially around the procurement. The contractors weren't keen to do more ambitious measures, and they were keener to do more standardized properties rather than the kind of owner occupiers that required more bespoke approach. And there were issues with the works as well from the householder's point of view, and there were complaints around that. So it was a kind of a different way to deliver the same outcomes as the Community Green Deal, but leading with the big contractor was less successful. And from our point of view, it was a challenging project because we were trying to market and communicate the benefits of the project, but because we didn't have control over the delivery, there were kind of reputational issues there. So we might promise something, but it might not be delivered. And that was particularly the case around, there were some whole house retrofits that were meant to be delivered on the program, but really the contractors didn't want to do them. And that led to a lot of dismay from householders. But then they would try and come to us because we'd marketed the scheme rather than the contractors. So it was a less successful means of delivery. So just some thoughts really on local authority and citizen-led collaboration. For me, there are weaknesses and strengths in both municipalities and citizen-led organizations. From municipalities, there are clear strengths in terms of scale and in terms of legitimacy. So municipalities are seen as legitimate organizations that they have institutional reputations and levels of trust. I think it's certainly trusted in terms of their profile. Everyone knows their municipality. They might not always like what they do, but they know who they are and they know where their addresses are. Municipalities can draw on resources and tend to have a bank of core skills and expertise. I think on the downside for municipalities, they're often slow moving and often risk averse, conservative in their thinking, and can sometimes lack specialist expertise. In contrast, citizen-led organizations, they can be agile and quick to react to new opportunities. They can access new bits of funding as they come available. They're able to take risks because they're smaller. They're trusted in different ways, I think. They're trusted in terms of their integrity and that they'll do the right thing because they're not-for-profit and they're led by citizens. Such organizations can invest in new expertise and are often innovative in their thinking. But conversely, these organizations tend to be limited in scale. They lack institutional resources and often lack core skills and expertise, like a standing staff, if you will. And often they're relatively new organizations. So in summary, kind of my take on this is that I think municipalities and citizen-led organizations, there's a natural synergy between the two types of organizations. I think where projects play to the strengths of each organization and kind of they can overcome their individual weaknesses and they can produce very innovative but large-scale projects that can have a real impact, I think, especially in this area. Okay, that's my